Are you a Western student? If so, make sure to watch and listen all the way to the end of the podcast and answer 2 simple questions to go in the draw to win a $100 gift card.
Hi, my name is Jamie Pride, and welcome to Western Sydney University Launchpad and our podcast on AI and the future of work. I'm the Chief Entrepreneur in Residence here, and really looking forward to having a great conversation with some amazing guests. I'm joined by Maz, Peyton, and Arafat. Welcome to the podcast, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Jamie. Happy to be here.
Excellent. Maz, why don't we start with you? Tell us a bit about yourself and your experience and love of AI.
Yep. So I started my AI studies before it wasn't even about.
Before it was cool?
It was called agents. It was called smart agents. So this was 2016, 15. So that's how I started. Now I have had multiple exits from different businesses, real estate agent. I've done different business deals as well. I've taught at different universities. But right now, my headline will probably be enthusiastic about decentralized AI.
Fantastic. Well, welcome to the podcast. And Peyton, hi.
Hello, Jamie.
Nice to have you. Tell us a bit about yourself.
So I am the HR Director for Australia and New Zealand at ServiceNow. I've been with the organisation for close to 4 years, and during that time I think we've seen a lot of changes within the workflow space as ServiceNow is very well known for. So the AI capability is certainly something that we're introducing into our products and is really helping us serve ourselves as customer zero, but also our obviously customers in the wider market across a variety of industries. So really excited to see where that takes us in the future, particularly over the next sort of, who knows, it's limitless opportunity, right?
Yeah, fantastic. Well, really great to have you on the podcast, and really can't wait to hear your perspectives. Arafat, tell us a bit about yourself. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks. I'm Arafat. I'm a senior manager at EY, so leading the digital engineering and platform engineering team. So my background in AI has started from 2016 with the conversational AI, so I'm quite deep when it comes to chatbots and conversational spaces. And in EY as well, we have been doing a couple of applied AI stuff. I'm really excited to be a part of this podcast.
Fantastic. And look, I think the topic today is super interesting. AI has been, I think, put forward as revolutionary with regards to work. It's the solver of all problems, potentially. It could be the destroyer of all of our jobs. I think for our listeners who are predominantly students, it'd be great to get a perspective from you, first and foremost, on, I guess, what insights you can share with respect to how AI might transform the workplace over the next, say, 5 to 10 years, both positively and negative. Peyton, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think it's certainly an exciting one for graduates and students here at Western Sydney Uni, or anybody who's in studies at the moment. I think AI has so many limitless opportunities and limitless potential. As I mentioned earlier, currently within the workforce, we're seeing these conversational pieces around AI, which are helping our, case summarization, which are helping, get that real, instantaneous response in terms of customer or employee requests. So it is well and truly here. And I think, it's only going to change the workforce, even more so as we look at, I think, employees engaging in more high value work more often, right? So a lot of these repeatable, automatable tasks being overlaid with AI is certainly something that's occurring at the moment. And I think, as employers, we need to think about what are the capabilities that we're hiring for, what are the skills as we start to see, those lower value tasks, the repeatable tasks start to be removed from the day-to-day. And how do we start to really engage with, the work that we're passionate about and that more high value work and the skills that we're actually recruiting for?
Yeah, and look, I think a lot of people have painted AI in probably 2 camps, right? One is that it's a very, very much a revolutionary technology. It's disruptive. It's going to come around similar to sort of e-commerce and mobile. In my former career leading realestate.com.au, we were part of that kind of disruptive transformation. Others have said, look, it's just another technology. It's just sort of basic automation. Maz, what's your view in terms of how big AI is with respect to sort of impact on the workforce?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think it's a technology. I think we're going through a revolution. So it's not really about a tech. I don't think AI is a tech. And I think we're going through a paradigm shift. So I think what is very important at this stage is focusing on the soft skills a lot more. I think being able to work with teams that are working remotely in different countries from different backgrounds, I think that is becoming very much more important than picking up technical skills. That's my perspective.
Yeah, fantastic. Arafat?
Yeah, I think we started in like all of us when we started working professionally, whether you were a startup founder or you were working professionally in any environment. We saw that we have come across certain technological advancements, right? But like be it web, be it mobile, be it anything fancy, blockchain. But ever since this generative AI popped in, things have changed. And I agree with Mars that it is not about just the tooling. It's all about the mind shift as well. Things have changed so much and so drastically that all kind of repetitive tasks at work have started being replaced by, or they are being replaced by AI. Like the concept of Copilot, concept of GPTs, everybody, it is at the hands of everyone. Yes, we'll talk about the dangers and risks and all that stuff, but it has tremendously improved the working culture and working style of all of us. Yeah.
Yeah, and look, I know for me, I mean, I've been doing this for a while. I've been in tech for probably almost close to 30 years. That dates me. However, I would say this is the first time where I think I've actually had to deliberately go out of my way and teach myself more about a particular technology. Now, and what I mean by that is, you know, we've been using AI for a long time, probably the past 2.5 years, both in our work professionally as well as with the university. But I feel like part of the responsibility of I guess even as an employee is to make sure that I'm fully equipped to even understand how to get best use out of the tool. And I think that's true for senior executives. I think that's true for new grads. But other technologies for me have just sort of come along and kind of assimilated themselves into the workforce without much fanfare. Like, I don't know if I did much work learning email necessarily, but I have spent a lot of time learning prompting. What's your take generally with regards to, I guess, the changing nature of the capabilities that we're going to need in the workplace, Arafat, like in terms of, you know, skills that organisations are going to value as increasing parts of the workforce are automated?
Yeah, I would categorize into two kinds of roles. So one is the role where you interact with day-to-day AI, just like you would do it with Microsoft Office or Google Docs. Day-to-day office jobs. You may these days as well. We use Excel, we use spreadsheets like anything. We create Word documents like anything. But now you must appreciate this, that there are a lot of things that you are encountering, so many documents coming up, and then you just wish that, oh, can I just summarize this, right? And then you right click, and if you are using Copilot, or you just take the excerpt, whole text of it and post it on ChatGPT. Yeah, we know all the risk of leaking documents and all that, but taking that aside, we want to make these things progressive and smart, faster, so that we can learn, or we can progress faster. So this is the day-to-day job role. The other role is like for graduates at Western Sydney University, is how do I equip myself in terms of, like, what do I see in EY specifically? What do we see over here when it comes to the other role, who is a practitioner role, or who's someone very deep in tech? For that, I think now you need to be equipped. We'll talk about it in detail, but you need to be equipped enough that you are not just day-to-day regular person who's using Microsoft Office, Google Docs, and things like that. But you have to be equipped enough to use all of those tools, especially prompt engineering, because it has become important enough for us to learn all of these tooling. And I think that's what it is make you as a graduate, as a fresh graduate, top of the line. Because if you are not equipped with whatever is going on today, you may stand in a similar queue as of people like us who are too old in this industry, and we don't want to change ourselves.
I'm never too old, and I'm definitely willing to change myself.
Confirm that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. However, I would say, look, just riffing off what you said, I mean, I think the way I kind of think about it is really, in my work, there are kind of two things that I do. I do some thinking and I do thunking. Yeah. And for me, the thunking work, which is essentially just, smashing out non-value add activities, as you kind of said, writing a PowerPoint deck or, doing menial activity, that kind of thunking work is pretty low value. And it's actually, a lot of that can be put out to automation in some way, shape or form. The thinking work, which is understanding what problem to even solve, critical thinking, structured problem solving, those kind of things, Maz, they lead into, I think, what you said earlier, which is the capabilities that we will need, I guess, or value more increasingly in a workplace around human interaction skills, so on and so forth. Tell us a little bit more about that, like in terms of sort of what you see grads could focus on in terms of sort of building those softer skills.
Yeah, I think trying to build those soft skills, I think focus could be about, before let's talk about AI. Let's talk about what we were even talking about. If you're going to be using a LLM, large language model, or ChatGPT or Copilot, I think you got to understand what it is that you're dealing with, what are its capabilities and what it could do, and know the limits. By knowing that, then you're able to use it more efficiently, more effectively. Now that you know how to use it, now if you pick up skills, now we want to talk about skills, where to pick up skills. Yes. So now, AI, what does it bring us? What does it enable? Enables us to work from abroad. You don't need anyone to be at a particular spot. They can be anywhere and they can speak any language. So it's about understanding those nuances as well, because we work with multinational corporations, we work with staff in different countries, and being able to communicate, because if you have a team and you want to work in a team, being able to communicate with them and being able to understand works a lot better. So how to pick up those skills and where to even find them, I think that's quite important. Arafat, I'm interested to see, like, where do you think you can find those people, or like those projects, or how to build those skills?
Yeah, for the skills specifically, I think again, coming to that role part. So if you are going into the finance industry, if you are coming into the tech, and if you are coming within tech as well, we have like so many verticals now. Are you going to be a data scientist? Are you going to be a person who's a software engineer but wants to use AI for all kind of work? Like, I'm kind of that guy. I'm not a data scientist. I'm not a machine learning expert, but I'm expert enough to utilize AI for all my needs and all my clients' needs. To use this, of course, your academics will give you enough information as well, but not enough to work within the industry. So my best bet would be, without getting any specifics or without getting into the specific names, I would go myself to YouTube and start learning about it. That's one of the best sources. As of, like, we used to do Google, now we should do YouTube. And YouTube is the best source to learn and to start learning. There is so much quality content available. Yes, there are. I'm not against the courses websites. They are super good. They are very good. People are putting a lot of effort. But if you just want to start, for example, as a data analyst, go to YouTube, find out some fantastic playlists, and start working through it.
Yeah. And I think we'll get to a point actually where, and I think it's even useful now, where we're seeing AI actually even help to, I guess, facilitate and enable learning as well. Peyton, what are you seeing at ServiceNow in terms of impact of AI on your workforce? In terms of, I guess, you're taking both a diverse range of kind of skill sets and capabilities in the technical landscape, from grads right through to experienced technical and business development people. What are you seeing in your workplace, and how's that causing you to think differently about your talent?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think in terms of what we're seeing internally at ServiceNow, there's a whole raft and range of opportunities, right? And I think there's a lot of different facets and a lot of different approaches that people can take to their learning. We've just spoken about using YouTube, right? Back in my day when I was at uni, it was coursework, and a lot of, existing HR programs will purely rely on, self-paced learning, or it'll be virtually instructor-led training, these sorts of things. But there are so many different mediums, and there are so many different options that, employers can provide, but also there's a reliance on employees to also own their own careers. So I think we're seeing through our own learning platform that we have at ServiceNow, we're seeing a lot of, I think, course completion, course starting, which is wonderful, and lots of people are engaging through that process, but also it's the external learning as well. So how do people engage with our tuition reimbursement policy and these things to get that little bit extra that, that we might not have available for them? But also, how is AI interacting with how people are engaging in their learning and development, which is a really exciting piece. So if I want to go and learn a little bit more about any number of topics through our learning platform, it's tied back to my individual development plan. It's tied back to my career growth plan. I can mirror and map my own skill profile to that of my manager or where I want my next role to go. So then I start to get courses recommended to me. So I don't have to go filtering and searching through X amount of thousands of content, or really, look to supplement my own learning. It's all there for me. And should I choose to engage with it, that's wonderful. Which I don't think has really ever happened before. So it's really at our employees' fingertips at the moment, which is super exciting.
Yeah, and look, I think the interesting thing for me, and I think the question that constantly comes up is, if we think about knowledge workers over the next 5 to 10 years, and the skills they're going to need, I think they're going to be very different from the knowledge workers of the past 10 years, which sounds pretty obvious. But for me, I think when I left uni, I needed to know how to use PowerPoint, and I needed to have some financial literacy, and I needed to know how to use email, and and as different development and applications came on board, those kind of basic ticket to play kind of skills, I think, were pretty well known. But I think there's been a couple of things mentioned that I feel are going to be really necessary. So data literacy and an ability to manipulate data at all levels of an organization, I think is crucial. Yes, we need data scientists, but you know what? I've seen people put Excel into Power BI and provide a lot of data insights on HR data, on housing data, and and those kind of things. So I think that the idea that data is going to be the domain of data specialists, I think that's going to change. And I think, to your point, one of the things we've really seen is that actually knowing the limitations of what a large language model can and can't do well, and knowing, I guess, when AI first came out, there was all like AI hallucinations and all those kind of things. And you've seen that kind of dampen down, mainly because people didn't know how to use the technology correctly, right? And understand fundamentally how it works. I think a lot of these things, though, are going to go away over the next couple of years. I think we're seeing, AI in its real infancy, and it's like, oh, well, you've got to, format the email address correctly in order to get the email sent. We don't even think about how we send email now, right? So for me, I think those kind of skills are really, really important. But that kind of leads me to, I guess, the next question. I mean, if you were almost a late stage student at Western in a variety of disciplines, what should you be thinking about in terms of preparing yourself for the workforce? In terms of sort of putting your best foot forward, potentially to go and get a job at ServiceNow, or in a grad program. Peyton, what do you think in terms of that?
Yeah, it's as I said earlier, back in my day at uni, coursework, and
back in my
back
day,
in my
that's
day,
where we're at. We're just old people now.
Exactly. Let me pull these pennies from my pocket. So I think in terms of the approach, we've got not only different technology and different approaches to the way that we're going to be engaging with work, but we've also got an entirely different generation that's coming through to the workforce, right? So the landscape has completely changed. The needs of our employees have completely changed. So as employers, we need to be really conscious of that fact and provide environments that are engaging, that are really stimulating. So for, I think, potential employees or, students, grads, whatever profession you might be in, the opportunities are limitless, right? There's no reason to say that because you are studying law or because you are a mechanic, whatever sort of trade you may be engaged in, there's no reason to say that you can't cross skill and change to, engage in a, technology type role. And so I think not only is it that open-mindedness and that growth mindset that really is something that employers are looking for at the moment, it's that openness to experience, it's that creativity with how you can approach your role differently using technology. I have to put this in here because I am an HR professional and I really like your points, Maz, around soft skills. But having that, face-to-face interaction, we've talked about international teams, we've talked about using AI to support, international working, translation, whatever it may be. Nothing beats that human-to-human contact. And so that is so key and crucial for, I think, any employer and any potential employee to have. Trust is earned in drops and lost in buckets. So being able to build rapport, be part of a team, that is absolutely key and crucial. And we're also going through a lot of technological changes, we're all aware of, and as we've spoken about, those leadership qualities and being able to lead people through change are also so important, I think, at the moment, because there is uncertainty, there is a bit of anxiety around the place, particularly in the tech industry at the moment. So how are we leading through that change? How are we supporting our current employees, but also our potential employees too? So I know it's a long answer, but I think it's that open-mindedness, it's that growth mindset, as well as those soft skills that I've mentioned, which is, the leadership capability, as well as building rapport and sort of having that trust and that face-to-face interaction.
Yeah, and I think you kind of said something there that kind of sparked for me, which is one of the, I think, amazing things about AI is that it's a good leveler. And what I mean by that is a lot of professions are built around expertise asymmetry. So we've got, I know something that you don't know and I monetize that gap, right? And I might not necessarily share that information. I think AI is good at closing the expertise asymmetry gap. And by doing so means that I think if young graduates identify that as an accelerator, which means that, you don't necessarily need to have full exposure or maybe 10 years in order to get the experience. That you can, of course the experience counts, but you can close that gap faster than any grads ever had, I think, in the future. Maz, what are your thoughts in terms of sort of if you were giving advice to a, almost a freshly minted grad out of Western, what advice would you give them?
I'll give them the same advice I gave my wife, who's a medical practitioner.
Yep.
Start learning AI. Start learning AI. And after 4 months, she started. And interesting enough, she's being reached out from LinkedIn just doing some simple courses offered by big corporations, just because they're removing a lot of jobs. So they are creating some jobs as well. So like Microsoft is creating 2 million jobs in India alone, offering free courses because they're also removing a lot of jobs as well. So I think as a student, you got to be resourceful. Even entrepreneur, student, you got to be very resourceful. And right now, I would ask them to go and learn and don't be picky on what you're going to start off with. Gemini, ChatGPT, it doesn't matter. Just start with any, so you have a better understanding of what are its capabilities. And also, then you will find out and you will come back to your teacher, to your mentor and say, hey, the content that I'm reading, it's based on ChatGPT 3 and I can't even access it now. I'm like, yes, that's the problem. It's growing, it's evolving so quick that even the content cannot keep up with it. So just start off from any point possible. And you can also access everything for free. And for you to be able to be at the edge of technology or like edge of AI, again, I feel like we're going through a revolution and it's not a technology. I would go and contribute to open source projects. Just create a profile, contribute just one line, and if you don't get hits and you don't get messages by people wanting you to join the team, I'll be surprised.
Fantastic. Arafat?
Yeah. If I was in university today, and I would like to think in this manner because I really want to put put me in their shoes. So I would start researching what is going on in the market first. Agreeing to the point of yours and Maz, but I think I would just start looking at first what is going on in the market in terms of the technology. AI is ubiquitous now. Like, you have to do it. So that's a no-brainer. But what exactly in AI do I do? What exactly in AI do I learn? I will be picky about it. So for example, LLMs. Maybe if I'm graduating now, then yes. But if I'm graduating after a year, who knows? Like, there will be talks about SML, right? Small language models, SLMs. And there have been discussions over here. I've recently started working on something that, rather than we call internet to process our information, why don't I call my machine to process my information? That's large enough, but not large enough for my machine. So that's why I'm hosting it in my machine. So there are a lot of use cases for that. So it means that if I'm a student, I would do a little bit of research on what is going on in the market, what is the common denominator, and then I'll pick that technology up and start using it, start learning about it. So I won't just blindly go towards this specific AI tech, but yes, I'll keep my eyes open and learning through that.
Yeah, and look, just building off of that, I think for me there are a number of universal skills. So, communication skill and being able to articulate, a concept, I still think is important. I think interpersonal skills, right? Like this idea that, one of the things we've kind of seen with new graduates is making sure that they're fit for purpose, job fitness, so an ability to actually to fit in and to interact with other humans, especially after a period of time where, we've had a lot of remote work. I think an ability to acquire skills at pace, right? So, I may not be able to predict what the technology is, but guess what? We're all technologists now. So, I think we all need to be able to, we all need to be able to pull those skills, and bring them to bear. Know where to find stuff, know how to learn quickly, right? YouTube, and other things have been said. And lastly, for me, I think this will be the last to go for now, which will be creativity, I guess, around design thinking skills and structured problem solving. So what problems will we have the machine solve for us? And being able to provoke, I guess, and understand what the provocation is in terms of, how we can get the best out of these models. I don't think they're very new skills, frankly. I think those are universal skills.
No, Jamie, you just mentioned communication skills. It's not just, and you mentioned human to human. It's not just human to human, it's human to computers.
Yep.
So prompt engineering, knowing how to get the results that is relevant to you out of a computer. It's just like programmers back in the age. Learning how to execute a command to change some zeros and ones for it to be represented in a different way. So that was development, like software development. Now we're talking about different types of development. Communicating with the computers. So knowing how to communicate with it, I think that is very, very important. Understanding, so when you're talking to someone else, for example, if the first language is not English, that you would speak slower to them. So they can understand. With computers as well, if you know the capabilities and the limitations, then you know how to communicate properly to them. So communication skills, not just human to human, human to computers as well.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So look, and I think they're cross-discipline. So, my perspective is whether you're in healthcare, whether you're in finance, whether you're in manufacturing, I think they're a really good universal and safe set of capabilities that would put students in good stead. We're close to time, and I could talk about this topic for hours. I want to thank all of you for coming in and sharing your insights on the podcast today, and I'm sure we'll have some follow-up episodes and some questions. But look, I mean, I'm excited. I think you could look at the market for grads and with a bit of doom and gloom, but I feel like if you try and find the positive, and certainly look at how can people use AI to their advantage, certainly over the next 3 to 5 years, I think grads are coming into a pretty exciting space. So thank you all. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. Do appreciate it, Jamie.
Thanks, Jamie.
My pleasure. Thanks, team.